Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Activities for People Living at Home with Dementia. We are proud to offer this series with funding from the Area Agency on Aging and the United Way of Tarrant County. These programs are recorded except for Texas Winds, and some are made available for viewing through a YouTube channel for future use. I am Martha Brown, your host for today's activities. We are presenting today Peggy Spear with the Amon Carter Museum of American Art. Peggy's topic for today is art that has something to do with rabbits. Oh boy, this sounds interesting. I wonder if Peter, Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail are there today.
They are not making their appearance here, unfortunately.
They're not. Okay. Well, you show us what you have.
All right. Let me switch on over. Okay. We're all seeing the same thing, correct?
Yes.
Screen.
Artful Moments, rabbit.
There we go. All right.
Oh.
Let me make it so I can see all of your shining faces. Okay, here we go. So rabbits, because it's Easter this weekend, and we had a surprisingly large amount of rabbits in our collection. So we're going to start here with this lithograph. Tell me what you see.
Big hair.
What do we see?
Yes.
It says something about Texas.
Yes, it says Texas on the it's a Texan hare. What do you notice in the picture?
A white belly.
White belly.
So some grass.
Some grass, yeah, some of the natural. Does this look familiar to any type of drawing or lithograph you've seen in life?
Of a hair or just in general?
Kind of just in general.
Well, it says it's Audubon, so.
But
yes.
if you look closely, it's John Woodhouse, his son, not John James.
Okay.
Oh.
So it's a little bit of a family collaboration that's happening here. But it's of quadrupeds, not of birds. We know John James Audubon from his birds. And so
yes, of course.
After he did his book on birds, he decided, I guess about 5 years later, he wanted to take on the viviparous, I feel like I'm saying it wrong, viviparous quadruped. So basically animals that get pregnant and carry their baby inside their body, not eggs. And so he traveled west towards the Rockies and documented animals, and then went down the Missouri and documented 4-footed animals he saw along the way in the hopes of making something kind of, a book like he did of birds. But as time went on, he started losing his vision and started drinking heavily. So he was diagnosed with dementia, they've now been able to say. Wow. John Woodhouse, his son, ended up taking over the rest of the project. And in this particular quadruped book, there were 150 drawings made, half of which were credited to John Woodhouse, who is not nearly as talented as his father. So while this is a picture of a hare, we're able to tell it's a hare. Proportions probably are off. Coloring might not be as perfect compared to what his father would have done. But he was using his father's sketches and father's journals and things like that to create the rest of the drawings.
I found a brown bunny in my backyard some years ago, and it doesn't look much like this at all.
Yeah, I found several brown bunnies in my yard, babies, and they come from the greensway that's at the end of the street. But don't see many anymore.
No.
Yeah.
This
Can I ask
reminds
you
me.
a question? Hello, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Don.
Was this the first picture you looked at?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
We would go back even if we needed to.
No, no, don't want you to do that.
No, you literally jumped on right as we started. So you didn't miss
Great. Thank you, Peggy.
Mhm. Steve, what were you thinking?
You need to go.
It looks more like a greyhound to me.
No, it looks like a hare. There's a difference between the hare and the bunnies, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely looks more like a hare. I mean, well, it is a hare, but it
Mhm.
has that likeness he did very much convey. And then, as with the birds, as you would see in the birds, you can see in a lot of the quadrupeds that he does include vegetation, often maybe some insects, things like that. So you do see some of those similarities between the two, but there's wild cats they've included in this, rabbits, gophers, mule deer, wolves, so all of those types of squirrels, those types of animals. And he did spend quite a bit of time in Texas as well. So this is one of the Texas hares he did come across.
Okay.
And this fell very short of the goal. It did not have the success that the birds did, but these are still beautiful artworks in and of themselves, even though, and they were for subscribers, again, the same way that the Audubon birds were. About 300 people had subscribed to this particular series.
What was his father's name? Get his first name?
John James Audubon, who's the one who did
John James, yes.
So we're seeing our own Texas hare. Maybe keep your eyes peeled for this bad boy. You might see him by a trail.
Well, if I see something like that, I'm going to say, what's that?
Yeah, right. I wonder how true it really looks like. All right. Now we're going to quite a moody rabbit. Tell me what you see.
It's on a table.
You're seeing the bunny on a table.
I would say it's stuck. It's in its burrow or whatever you call a rabbit's thing.
I'm picturing like in Goodnight Moon at the end of the book, the little bunnies are in their tree eating carrots. This is what that kind of looks like.
But are you sure it's a rabbit? I can't even see it's a rabbit. Can you explain to me where?
Yes, so this is a rabbit. You can see it's his eye or its eye right here.
Yeah, we
It's
see that. Yeah.
pinned back towards its bumpy
Okay.
body, his little hind
Okay.
paw. What is it?
Yeah, the hind
paw?
leg.
And then kind of the hint of a not a bushy tail, but a tail, and his front paws as well. Are you seeing it now, Yetta?
Yeah, I can see it now. Yeah.
But it's very distorted.
Okay, yeah,
It is.
I can see it now too. It's it looks like it's dark. It looks like it's white colored in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and dark on the head and the tail.
Yeah, so he painted a lot. This is a Tamarin print. And as you know, a lot of the Tamarin people who were invited to print at the Tamarin were established artists in other realms, typically painting, often sculpture. And they're invited to come to this workshop in LA the intent was to rehab the prestige of lithography, making it an elevated art again, because print lithography at this point by the 1960s in the US was sort of a dying art. So this workshop existed to try to bring it back to life. So he was known for his abstract creations. He had worked in lithography though, starting in the 1940s. So like a lot of the artists that go to this particular workshop, they have zero experience in lithography because it was often hard to find that equipment, and it's a lot of heavy equipment. So artists weren't always, exposed to those materials. Here he had experience working in lithography, and so he was able to kind of hone in, for certain, I think it was in 1963 or 4, he went and was able to, or he was invited in 63 and ended up there in 64 to work on this lithography. He was there for 3 or 4 weeks, something like that. So he was already painting an abstract. So you guys pointed out, someone even said it's very abstract. It is very abstract, but he's got
I thought I had a hard time visualizing it until just to the bigger look at it.
Till you kind of had things pointed out. Yeah, he often in his lithographs painted in black and, or not painted, created in black and white. And so this is true to his form. And they were very somber. This does not feel like a happy bunny picture.
No, it does not.
I was gonna say, unless I'm the only one that feels the way. Does anyone get a happy vibe from this painting?
No, he's got his ears
No.
back. He's curled up.
No.
Yeah. He's
Are
not
you
very happy.
getting a somber, more serious vibe from this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This particular artist, I was reading his obituary in the New York Times. He seems like a very interesting man. He was a lot of times dealing with existential angst, with a direct quote, so very heavy. And and this is another quote from the New York Times, a lot of figuration in psychologically charged themes that explored human isolation and alienation. So while this is not an animal,
Wow.
we're
Yeah.
picking up on all of the themes he was very interested in.
He needs to see a bunny psychologist or something.
Don, you're right.
Yeah, he's really working through some things right now, and we're catching him in that moment.
Okay, and so Peggy,
Yeah.
did you say something about in 1964 that lithography was going out of style?
No, it was in 1960, June Wayne opened up a workshop in LA called the Tamarind Lithography Workshop, and it was to help revitalize the art
Okay.
of lithography.
Okay, okay.
A big thing in Europe and other Western countries. The United States never took to lithography after a certain time, the same way other countries still were, or other art groups were. So this was her attempt to really elevate lithography again. So many of the prints we've seen in these sessions are coming from this workshop, because it gave so many artists that were very well known and some lesser artists an opportunity to experiment in that particular medium. And in some instances, that was the only time artists might have worked in that medium. This particular artist happened to work in lithography outside of his stay. And this workshop moved from LA to Albuquerque. And when it was in Albuquerque, he was invited to do another stay there as well. And then he himself created the printmaking program at Stanford. He was a professor there for 30 years. So he had a lot of interest and skill in printmaking, particularly lithography.
Wow.
You mentioned Stanford. Is Stanford the place where the golden spike lives?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
It is?
This
Mhm.
is, yeah, out in California, right?
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Peggy, we did some Jeopardy.
Mhm.
And one of our questions was, where does the golden spike live? Is it still in the ground or did it move? And one of the answers was at Stanford.
Oh, how fun. Well, we're bringing it full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a professor there for 30 years, and he's Northern California born and bred. So he spent most of his life up in Northern California.
Hmm.
But anyway, I thought this was, even though it's a very, it's not your Easter bunny, it's still such a beautiful, I feel, picture that I would actually like to have in my home. I'm not sure everybody would agree with that, but I really enjoyed this artwork.
Well,
But I'm not dealing with existential angst. Like, this is not me projecting.
That's good.
All right, so now we're going to move to this one makes me giggle.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that in Kansas.
That's probably where you would see it, because this guy was from Kansas.
really?
Yeah, he had a studio in Kansas, and I'm not exactly sure where, but this particular artist is known as kind of creating this tall tale photograph.
Yeah.
It was really big in the Midwest from 1908 through like 1915, and he was kind of the master of the tall tale.
Many, many years ago, my word, 1908.
Yes, he was one of the original photoshoppers, if that makes sense. He was
Yeah.
he was manipulating, it's called photo montage. He was manipulating negatives to create a tall tale, to create something very hyperbolic, and people just ate it up and loved it. And
Yeah.
so
It's
here he took
unusual.
a picture of a bunny from another negative and then placed it on top. And you can see he added some scratching in to give it that shadow, to make it feel as if they were all part of
Sure.
one picture.
I'm surprised it doesn't have horns on it.
Yeah,
Antlers.
exactly.
Yeah.
Antlers.
There, you know what, if you give this
Jackalope.
name Google, there's all sorts of images where I'm sure you might find something like that from him. Like there are pictures of a little boy holding a grasshopper that's as tall as him. A
Really?
picture of like people, and they're in their new house, and it's a giant egg that they're living in. I mean, it's very silly. It's very meant to be fun. And he, this particular one is a postcard. It says copyright 1909 by W.H. Martin. And on the back of the postcard, it reads, May, we're having cold rains at present. Come up and fare the chase. Plenty of game if we can just catch it. School is out on Friday. Then I may have time to write you a letter. With love, Ethel.
Mhm.
It was just a sweet little, reminds me of something you would probably, if you're at the boardwalk or at a fair or something, you might find something kind of silly, those
Yeah.
postcards. This is like the beginning of all of that genre.
But that was in 1908. That's been a lot of years ago. My
Well,
You are
yeah.
right.
I don't know what period it was, but there was a time in Kansas where the jackrabbits were menace eating all the crops and everything, and they'd round them up and basically kill them. But
Oh, maybe that's
that was
what
late
it is.
40s? Late 40s, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, and what's interesting too is this particular, like the some of the stuff that Martin was making fun of was that these land companies were trying to entice people to move out to the Midwest, and they just had a massive drought in 1980, and the land was still recovering and the livestock were still recovering, and so he's kind of making a jest like the livestock's out of control here, and that kind of joke, because if you live there, you knew it was not that way at all. And so it's just, while it's funny to people who might not know the situation, it's also kind of tongue-in-cheek with what was going on in the Midwest at that time. And so the postcard was mailed from South Dakota down to Nebraska.
Okay. So it looks like the bunny has all 4 feet off the ground.
Mhm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If this is probably a photograph he either took or found of a bunny elsewhere.
Yes.
And so this was other ways that photoshopping was done was multiple exposures, combo printing, layering things, taking things out, cutting things out, and then montaging it together, kind of like a collage. So scratching the negative, things like that, to create different effects.
and it looks like they had some interesting characters in their automobiles.
Yes.
Looks kind of like a clown circus or something.
It does. And
And
it's
this could,
right-hand drive.
these are probably photoshopped too.
Oh yeah, I'm
photoshopped
sure. Yeah.
From other, it's all just a farce. None of it is true. So, but this too, other people were cropping and manipulating, but this is really when it became more mainstream that people were doing this. So it allowed that artistic rendering of things. Am I looking at what's real, or am I looking at something that's been doctored? So,
Right.
This was when that question started coming up. What am I actually seeing? All right, now we're leaving our lassoed bunny,
Oh,
something a little more charming.
Oh, that's sweet.
that is sweet.
So they're ivory rabbits in a leaf boat. You might see the leaf is bent
Mhm.
and kind of swooped back up at the top.
Mhm.
So what is this? I feel like all of you had a very sweet, endearing reaction to it. Does this make you feel warm and fuzzy?
It does me.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm
Maybe a
trying to,
feeling. Oh, go ahead.
I'm trying to think of a children's book that this reminds me of. There is, I think, a
Good
children's
night,
book
Moon.
that has rabbits. They're doing things like this.
Good night, Moon.
Good,
It
that's,
could be.
Yetta, that's
Yeah.
exactly where mine went, where it's the grandma bunny, because we are big on Goodnight Moon in our house right now. And so we're reading it every night. And even though it's only 2 bunnies, the bunny whispering hush and the little baby bunny, it still has that kind of familiar feeling to it.
Mhm. That's cool. I like this. This is a nice one.
The rounded edges are soft and sweet.
Mhm.
Yes, there's nothing threatening
Anywhere.
about, I mean, how threatening we just kind of saw a threatening bunny.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This
Yeah.
is the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
This
How big is
the-
this, the pet, Peggy, do you know?
This is, let me find
Can't
it,
be very big.
7 by 9 inches.
7 by 9, okay.
This is something I could see on a coffee table or an end table or a mantelpiece, something like that.
Yeah, even on your Easter table, something like
Yeah,
something as
yeah.
a
Yeah,
little setup for that morning of
Yep.
brunch or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, it's something, I mean, this was taken in 54. I mean, this is like such a familiar vignette of sweet bunnies that all of us can probably think of a time where you've been somewhere where you've either seen it in your parents' house or you had it in your own house or now, as an adult. But
Mhm.
this particular photographer was big on, as you can see here, pictorialism, which is the softening of edges, kind of that dreamlike effect to focus more on the spiritual being or the essence of the photograph versus the narrative or the documentation of what is in the photograph. This is really meant to be an artistic photograph. And so she was working in New York City with other photographers that were doing the same thing, Stieglitz being one of them. So she was in that pictorialist group that was trying to promote photography as an art, not as a way to document things. And this is one of the longest movements in photography that has been since the beginning of photography, pictorialism.
What are the figures made of?
Ivory.
Ivory. Yeah.
That's right, ivory. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
that's
sorry.
okay. I know. I was thinking it was porcelain. In my mind, I kept thinking it was porcelain. I'm like, no, it's ivory. You would be hard pressed to find something like that today.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yes.
if you have an ivory set now, you're in the crowd that would, the few that have it. But she,
worked a lot.
interestingly enough, she was the youngest of 6 kids. She had 5 brothers ahead of her, and they lived in Buffalo growing up. And her brother was a photographer, and so she learned what she needed to. He became a photographer to support their family because their dad passed away. He actually passed away before she was born, and so the brother was a portrait photographer. She learned what she wanted to from him, then moved to New York City to do the exact same thing, and was very well known for it. And she says she only used natural lighting, which this, it probably might be near the edge of a window light or something like that.
Mhm.
Didn't crop much, didn't manipulate, but conservationists have again proven her wrong. Artists lie. And so there is some evidence that she did manipulate her photographs.
So do we know if this actually carving still exists somewhere or just a photograph? Just a photograph.
And it's just a photograph. There's
Okay.
very little about this photograph at all. So I imagine it was either something she owned or something one of her friends had. She often was documenting some of the beauty and life outside of the portrait studio she had. So this is one of those. And we've got one more in the name of nostalgia,
Aw,
just a
That's
sweet
cute.
little portrait
with a carrot.
with a carrot.
Uh-huh. And an Easter dress.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I feel like maybe some of you have pictures probably like this of you as a child with a bunny. Or this is labeled as her pet. So did any of you
No,
have a
I
pet
don't.
bunny?
not as a
Ira
pet,
did.
no.
I had an indoor rabbit once that had run of the house, and he chewed on every electrical cord in the house.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Having to
Yeah.
replace things.
Yeah, we had one like that in We eventually got rid of it because of chewing electrical cords.
Mhm.
And we thought we'd gotten them all until we moved out, and behind the couch, there was a cord that chewed. All chewed.
I thought you were gonna say, and then 3 years later, we found a bunny under our couch. It's like,
No, no.
Yeah, we had a bunny, a white albino bunny that
oh yeah.
we had, and it was inside and it was allowed out under supervision.
But he didn't like cords. He didn't know he was a bunny. He thought he was a dog.
Yeah, he did. We thought it was one of our dogs.
He ran with the dogs. He'd wait at the door when I'd go get the mail, and
Oh.
there's 2 dogs and a bunny waiting for me.
Oh, how sweet. What was your bunny's name?
Harvey.
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 Oh, of
That's
course.
the famous Harvey.
Yes.
Yeah, ours had a little harness, so they walked them just like a dog.
Yeah.
You know, he walked along, and his name was Thumper.
Thumper,
Oh,
yeah.
sweet.
My girls named it. The girls
Yeah.
named
Well,
it.
of course, yes. Ours name was Peter, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, they didn't like getting rid of Thumper, but we bought him a guinea pig, so that was all right. You know.
Okay, all right.
Traded one in for the other.
Fair.
My
enough.
best friend's sister had a bunny growing up. I'm not much of a bunny person, but hers was Jelly Bean. I feel like we've hit every bunny name. Jelly Bean, Thumper, Peter,
Harvey,
Harvey. Yeah.
yes.
And then if you go to like the rodeo, they always have big old bunnies in the cages. If you go into the stock show part of it,
Yeah,
those are really sweet. They look so soft. You just want to
Oh, yeah.
love on them. But anyway, those are our bunnies for the day. I thought this last one was a sweet one to end on.
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I hope you have a nice, if you're celebrating Easter, enjoy your Easter weekend. And then next week I told you we could do this topic a million times over. And again, we're doing flowers. So we will look at some beautiful buds and bulbs and the whole
Oh,
bit.
good.
All right,
Excellent.
friends?
And the
All
flowers,
right. Thank you, Peggy.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Happy
Bye, y'all.
Easter,
Peggy.
everybody.
Easter.
Bye, Peggy. Thank you.
bye, Peggy.
Bye.
I
Bye.
understand that the flowers are going to be 3 times next week. She
Oh,
will
Okay.
do all 3 programs.
Okay.
Now, Chris and Ashanti, this is the time when I want you not to go away. Okay, we're going to stop the recording. Oh, let's take a look at what's coming up since
Okay.
we're talking about next week. This afternoon at 1:30, Nia moving to heel if you still need to stretch your body. Tomorrow, all 3 programs are TCU Frog Bingo.
All right.
So if you want to think about getting yourself in the running for a gift at the end of the month, it is bingo time.